Alright, so right now we've been running around Jagged Dagger's Isle and haven't been doing a lot of group looking for group. I plan on it. I don't plan on it necessarily, at least not until I get through Frostfang Sea, because one thing about New Hallis and the Frostfang Sea area is it's a wonderfully designed, fairly, what's the word I'm looking for? Fairly intuitive quest progression that will take you, right now I'm at, I think, 23, 22, 23. And that's only because my brother took me through Stormhold and did some leveling down there. But right now, I don't want any of that. Right now, I just want to finish through the quest lines because I actually like this area as much as I really don't like the snowy palette. Like, it's really plain and kind of boring. Although the mountainous structures are pretty amazing. I mean, look at that. It's got a lot of variety. It reminds me a lot of Star Wars: The Old Republic, and in particular, I mean, this area is a lot more interesting than the snow planet on, well, it kind of reminds me of Hoth a little bit, which doesn't say much because Hoth has really visually stunning areas as well as some really not visually stunning areas. And yes, regardless of whether I have the shiny currently or not, I will be picking them up. So if I stop in the middle of a quest to pick up a shiny and you don't like it, well, too freaking bad. Alright, let's see. I just have to kind of get over there because I actually decided on Morgan that I'm going to do, she's going to be a provisioner. Oh, that's the other thing about this area is that shinies are really hard to see. It's like you're almost having to like stand on top of them before you actually see them. Like, if I didn't know what I was looking for, I probably wouldn't have seen that one. But like, I'm also I'm not really hardcore leveling a necromancer out in Darklight Forest. That is a place where it is really easy to see the shinies and feel like a pinball machine where you're like, boink, 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 boink. Look at all these shinies. Alright, I think I must speak to Brogan McClellan. Oh, he's inside the thing that I should have gone and looked at for him, but I didn't, so we'll just do that one later. Campsite spores. Apply the Crustose spores to any Rygor provisions on Jagged Dagger Islands. Okay. We need to go over there anyway because I want to get all those ones done so that when we head underneath to the underground water cavern that we don't have to worry about popping back over to Jagged Island or Jagged Daggers, whatever the hell it's called. And because it's been probably the better part of a decade or more since I've actually played EverQuest 2 which is why I'm starting over with all of these characters. And well, without causing too much controversy, the original account that held all of my original EverQuest 2 characters with all of their beautiful, like, practically first day gear and stuff, was deleted in the process of my divorce. And so, but I've noticed that it's actually a really good thing that I'm starting over from scratch, basically, because there are certain things that I remember from playing Furies, and I have a Dirge, and I love both those classes. But there are also things that I don't remember, like nuanced things. Now, the one that I'm playing on currently, the server I'm playing on, Varsoon, is what they call a progressive server, which means that they have rolled back the time. So we're basically in... Is there a shiny there? No. There is basically... They've rolled the time back to before the majority of... I think right now they're waiting for October, November-ish before releasing what was one of the original first expansions of the game. So I'm basically playing EverQuest right now as if I think I'm on the wrong island. Where am I? Where'd I go? That's not it. Oh. No, I'm on the right one. Okay. Anyway, okay, I got it. I'm playing this as if, like, the game had just been released within the year. So... Which I actually wanted to do because, I played up until... Oh gosh, I can't even remember what expansion my ex and I left EQII for World of Warcraft. And then I joined World of Warcraft right around the time of the first expansion. But I had been playing and raiding on EQII before. And now I want to get back into doing that, and I thought that being on a progressive server would be the best way to relearn how, not necessarily the etiquette of raiding, but the nuance of raiding again in EverQuest 2. Because for each game, there's big differences. They all kind of work the same, if you will, but at least between EverQuest, World of Warcraft, Star Wars, The Old Republic, that kind of thing, there's always those mechanics that you have to be on the lookout for. But there just seems to be slight differences in the way aggro is held by the tanks, the way healing works, the way healing is coordinated between the healers, the way you dump aggro, that sort of thing. Hey, homies, what's up? I don't want to kill y'all, because y'all are boring. We could just wait till that respawns. We'll go over to this camp. Oh, yep, there's one over there. Plus, it's so funny. I've been playing with Core, one of the guilds here on Varsoon, and then I was playing with a different guild before, and it was so funny because they keep throwing out acronyms all over the place, and I'm like, I don't remember what that means. Like, I mean, I know I can look it up, so it's not like a huge deal, but I just think it's kind of funny how how I still haven't figured out what ROF means. That's the next expansion. Oh, hi, you're hitting me. That's rude. I slice him and dice him. There we go. That's that slashing up. Because even though technically as a caster and a healer, you don't generally need your slashing ability to be up, but I always like it because you never know when you're in that situation where both of you are pretty much nearly dead and it comes down to you being out of mana, and then whoever's going to win is going to be the person who can hold out the longest, and that generally ends up coming straight down to who can hit the hardest with their weapon. Alright, you, come here. Get out of there. This is a situation in the game where I played it when it was new, but it's been so long since I played it that I would not, like, if you were to watch one of my Star Wars The Old Republic streams, you could, with pretty good, why did it do that? I could answer, you know, basic questions about at least leveling. The rating bit and end game gearing, I would not be able to answer those questions, but with on Star Wars The Old Republic. But with this particular game, I am for all intents and purposes brand new. Except for I'm not. Like right now, one of the other things that I'm dealing with is there's this thing that they didn't have when I was playing the game before, which I think is the game developers' attempt to help people gear before the next expansion comes out, and it's this like series of quests called Hunters, and everybody who's at endgame wants to get in Hunter's group, and it resets like every 18 hours or something like that. I have yet to figure out what that is, or how you get started on it, or anything like that, and I've been too lazy to try to figure it out. Okay, there's got to be a storage place inside one of these tents. Is that it? Or am I done? Oh, yep, done. Okay, cool. Let's get out of here. It says, return to Odin, Scorched Sun, now that you have spread crustospores on the Rykor provisions and survived the ensuing attacks by angered orcs. Fabulous. And there's another shiny. And another long swim, although not nearly as long as the swim that's going to happen when I have to go to the underground cave. Super fun. almost there. Once I turn these quests in, I will tell you a sad tale of woe.
Hello.
Okay, good. He didn't give me anything else. I was gonna be like, dang it, don't give me anything else. I can never decide what I want to do. Alright, we are going to the underground cavern, which looks like my water breathing is still up, so we don't have to worry about that. If you're not a Fury or a Warden or any of the or a Necro, I believe, they give you totems to help you breathe underground. Or breathe underwater. Not underground, breathe underwater. These guys are still green to me, dang it. I think, if I remember correctly, doing this part of EverQuest 2 for the first time felt like I was beating my head up against a wall because I could not find this stupid thing. Even because you can do coordinates here, and so it kind of helps to kind of, go around. But I'm not very good at three-dimensional thinking, apparently. These guys are all green, those guys are not, those guys are green. That guy got munched. I must speak with... Oh, really? They're gonna make me go... Oh my gosh. Because you know what they're gonna do? I get in here, I'm gonna have to go all the way back, and then I'm gonna have to come all the way back. I have to get this guy. Now that is obnoxious. Yeah, it looks like I'm right. I'm 23. Bye, you suckers. Alright, now I like. Once I get done with this turn-in, then I will tell you my tale of woe. Oh, wrong guy. So you see my beautiful baby that I'm riding? This is a warg, and I love wargs. This is a white warg, which I am partial to now. But back in the day, before, there are still wargs out there that you have to have reputation with a particular group in order to buy them. And before I quit EverQuest 2 to play World of Warcraft, I had worked my butt off to get that reputation, because it's not necessarily hard, just time consuming. And I didn't have any help because I didn't. Where the fudge did this thing go? How do I always end up losing this thing? It's not that hard. Maybe I should do better and not. Damn it. Ah. Anyway, so I'm building up the reputation. I know I'm close, because there's that dude. Oh, I think I swam over it. Weird. Okay. So anyway, I worked my butt off to get the reputation for this work, and I had to do that mostly by myself, because one of the hallmarks of my ex was he really hated being a lower level than me, and so he would blast on ahead of me in levels and do his own thing, but then get mad at me for not waiting for him or whatever. Anyway, so when I would ask him for help, he would be annoyed because it would be boring to him for help. Alright, I should look for an exploding barrel and set it in front of the hastily made wall. Wherever that is. And wherever the barrel is. This seems like a good distance from the wall. I think that's what they're referring to. Do I have a barrel? Or do I have to go back to Deuter here? Oop, hi. What's up, homie? So I get to choose my warg, which I was so excited about. And okay, there's no clicky thing, so I guess I'm gonna go back to Deuter over here. Explosives should be around the area. Okay, well, I'm not seeing any just yet. So that might be it though. So I pick a red warg, and that red warg was my baby forever. Didn't matter if I could find better mounts or faster mounts, because I didn't give a crap. That was my baby. That's what I rode. And so when I realized that I was not getting back my account, my original account, that was probably one of the few things that made me sad about not being able to get my original account back. The other thing that made me really sad about not being able to get my account back was the fact that I have, because I played the game like right from the very almost right from the very beginning, and I don't know why I just did that. Okay, good. almost right from the very beginning, I had tons of in-game items that are non-tradable, so you can't give them to people and you can't sell them and you can't get them anymore. Like, they had a whole series of music boxes that they released that would play the original EverQuest music, the original game's music. So, like, if you wanted to hear Kelethin or Butcher Block or whatever, you could play those songs inside your house. And I had all of them in my house. And now those are gone forever, so that's awesome. Alright, let's see what this has got. Nope, nothing there. We don't want frosted ore. Okay, I don't see any explosives around here, guys. What's that? That's those guys. Of course he does. I wonder, no, it said it was around here, so it's got to be, it probably won't fall off anybody. I guess we'll go a bit deeper. I don't see any clickies over here. Those would look like the barrels that I would want. Of course, they're not. And of course, it's been a minute since I played this particular area, so I have no idea where they were originally. He didn't like me invading his territory. Really need to get my subjugation up. Subjugation keeps them in place when I don't want them moving. Nothing there. Oh, there we go. Ooh, a name. Let's kill him next. Die already. Alright, Mr. Mastermind Montagor, you're about to die. He's not looking happy right now, is he? Nope. Oh, punk. See, that's what happens when you have crappy subjugation, is they break your snares too fast. But didn't matter because I killed him anyway. I just don't like to have to, when I'm in the middle of soloing, I don't like to have to throw out one of my heals. Although I should be grateful that I have them. Alright, ornate chest. Woo! Adept Stalker Strap, which is not currently better than what I'm wearing. And an Arcanist's Epaulet of Casting, which is also not better than what I already have. So those are going to go up on the brokerage. Oh, oops. Might want to come and pick up what I came here for. Alright, let's go blast the hole in this wall. Yeah, I'll stay over there. Alright, now let's go back to the wall that had the orc with his head smashed in. So that's cute. Sorry, we took sort of a circuitous route. Guess I should get away. Okay, now what do I do? With the wall destroyed, I should investigate what is on the other side. The Velinoids. Smashers. They're made from Velium. Well, I shall speak with him once I kill this dude. You know, I don't always, one of the positives of EverQuest 2 is doing these quests kind of similar but not similar to World of Warcraft, where if you do lower level quests, like that dude's 17 and I'm currently 23, so he's green to me and so therefore not much of a challenge. But I will tell you that in this game, you will find that being a few levels ahead of the area you're in is actually quite helpful, and you die a lot less. And it seems like you don't suffer too much experience loss from that, which is always nice, because usually what ends up happening is you get a little bit of experience killing the guys, and then you get a nice big boost for completing the quests. Alright, so we want to escort his scout through the Velinoid catacombs so he can safely gather information. Once I have seen Orden through, I am to ensure he isn't followed while returning. Great. I hate these kind of quests. Hopefully he just follows behind me instead of me having to follow behind him. Alright, whatever. I guess he's gonna go invis, which is just fine with me. It's like, that was one of my one things about World of Warcraft and even Terra, was those escort quests drive me absolutely bonkers. Alright, Mr. Man. I was like, where the hell are you going? What's that? Oh, that guy. What? Well, I guess I'm glad that guy walked off instead of jumping me with his buddies. Ah, crap. Here comes a pather. Stay there, Mr. Man. And of course you did. It was just perfect timing, right? Sweet, golem killer. Ooh, upgrade. Yep. Alright, you. What's your deal? I should travel deeper into the Velenoid catacombs and seek out Orden. Alright, let's get a map of this place and see where he's likely to pop up next. There's a ribbit Hobson through here. Okay, so it kind of doesn't matter what direction I go, which is fine. So we'll just go this way, because I feel like it. We got any named in this room? Or is it just all duders? Looks like it's all just duders. Aw, did I kill you before you could whack on me too much? Darn. Guess I should have opened with Piranha's Hold rather than try Snare right off the bat. Double checking for named, because if there isn't any, we're not wasting our time. Okay. And the reason names are so important is because they tend to give more experience, for one, when you kill them, and for two, they generally tend to give you better than average loot. Not necessarily always dropping treasure chests per se, although that's generally what that means, but it's just better to kill them. I can't even remember if there was like... Oh, there he is again. Really, dudes? This is what I'm gonna do. You stay. And you are going to get more beat on. hopefully that doesn't pull this other dude. Well, I guess I didn't have to worry about it. And if you can hear clicking in the background, there's a good reason for that. I am super old school and I click all my hotkeys with my mouse. So deal with it. I mean, I do know how to use my number keys to press my hotkeys, but it's just from old-fashioned notions of how to play any MMO that comes from that. So, doing it. I do what I want. All right, dude. I would speak with Thrin, blah, 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 blah. I don't see any... Oh, he must be up above. I was like, because I don't see anybody sitting right there. So he must be up in Hallis somewhere. Alright, let's go check this upper cavern to see if it has any names. Nope, nope. I found a golem essence trap. If you're wondering what that's all about, sometimes these more specialized creatures like golems, skeletons, vampires, and so on will drop body parts that you can examine, and then once you get and it begins a quest for you, and then once you've gotten the required body parts after killing a bunch of them, then it will give you a special ability that is more potent against that particular type of creature, and it's usable for any creature that you go through and get it for. So I think Nadia, my dirge, has a lot, but not as much as my original characters had. Evigis's chamber. How about we get rid of Mr. Wanderer right here before we go killing Mr. Big Guy. Alright, give myself a sec or two to get my mana up a little bit. Maybe I should kill this guy too. Hopefully some nubbin doesn't come through and be like, oh, that guy looks awesome. Crap, I hope he doesn't path into that other guy. That would be amazing. Be like, oh, I'm halfway out of mana and nothing to kill a blue up guy. Fabulous. Alright, let's give us a second. I wouldn't be nearly so fastidious with a green one of these guys, but since he's a blue, it's always good to err on the side of caution. Alright, Mr. Mans, let's do this. Don't do strange things, just stay there and get beat on. Are you healing? No, you may not. You may not heal. And we'll take this lightning bolt to the bum. Recovered alleviation scrolls. And do I even have any charms? I do not. Sweet. Charms are good. Awesome. Alright, let's go back to Deuter. I know eventually I get a invis spell, but it really sucks that I don't have it right now. No, no, no. You die like a good little dude. Oh. Guess it would help to press the button. Why did I do that? I want to go the other way. I mean, it's all in the name of experience, right? Nice try. Ah, you did it anyway. Jerk. Just for everyone's sake, I do eventually plan on getting a better microphone. Right now I'm just using my laptop's microphone, and I haven't decided on whether or not I want to do a headset or not. I kind of don't, but it's really, I haven't found a really good laptop microphone that, maybe I don't want to go through here. Is there any names? No. This cavern's too squishy. I haven't found a good microphone that's not USB, and before you laugh at me, there is a good reason why I don't want to use a USB mic, and that is because I only have so many USB ports on my laptop, and currently I'm using a wireless mouse. What am I doing? Currently I'm using a wireless mouse and a wireless keyboard, so I don't have to use the keyboard on my laptop. And I don't want to have to buy one of those thingies that you plug in and gives you like 100 USB ports. So I'd rather just get an, you know, aux cable and call it good. Come a little closer, my precious. Yeah, taking a lightning bolt to your head really doesn't help if you've got a weenie heal. Just saying. Don't get attention, don't get any attention, don't get any attention. Alright, I don't mind this guy's attention. It's just those other dudes that I was like, please go by, please go by. I don't want to have to fight everyone in here. But knowing EverQuest like I do, most likely I'm going to be heading back up in here again. Okay. Man, where are all these dudes coming from? Was there this many guys the last time I came through here? Oh, damn it. I snagged this guy and I didn't need to. Well, stink. Like up on the walls. I was thinking about this today because back in the ancient days of EverQuest 2, when you, I guess I've heard that you can still do the betrayal quest if you really want to. But back in the day, if you wanted to say play a high elf, but you wanted to play on the bad guy side, then you could do a betrayal quest and then get the alternate version of whatever class you were playing. So for some reason I got it up my nose that I really wanted a high elf Shadow Knight. Or not Shadow Knight, Shadow Knight. Something. Death Knight. Whatever they're called. You know what I'm talking about. and I did it, and that was the most fun combination I've ever played, because Shadow Knight can actually be pretty fun. Am I even saying that correctly? Yeah, Shadow Knight. Anyway, you should have seen, because I did that, like, not, when people betrayed, they usually betrayed things like, you know, wood elves and crap like that, but doing a high elf, I would get stares by people. It was so funny. Like, what's a high elf doing as a Shadow Knight? Well, because I'm awesome, that's why. Die! Okay. Coming back over to Mr. Dude. Symbol of Wisdom. That's also a charm. Sweet, I got 2 charms. Warden's Sleetfoot is missing somewhere in the Velenoid caves. Wants me to return where I left him and discover his fate. Hopefully I'll find him safe in the shadows. Well, like I said, yep, I'll be coming back in here. At least they didn't make me go all the way back to the camp. And maybe, and hopefully, maybe those guys haven't respawned yet. Please let. Some of them haven't. Hooray! Don't look at me, don't look at me, don't look at me. Okay. I have a feeling that Mr. Sleekfoot, or whatever his name is, probably be up with the ancient guy that I killed earlier. Which is fine, because we can kill him again. It's just killing him again doesn't give as much experience as killing it the first time. Unless they change that, which is very possible. Alright. I'll let you go that way. I'm going to go up here. Talk to Duderville here. Wow. Oh, because you're 19. That's why you slid out of there so quickly. Oh, hi. Apparently you needed to say your piece as well. Well, at least my subjugation is 33 now. That's good. Still have another 80 plus to go. Oh, there's his little corpse. So sad. Got in over his head and paid the price. Yeah, I couldn't have expected those guys to have not respawned by now. The one thing that this time around as I play EverQuest 2 that I would really like to figure out better is mana preservation. Because that's one drawback of Fury Healing. Fury Healing, I love it because it's a nice combination of, like, I'm a hot healer. I've been a hot healer since EverQuest 2, basically, once I got used to what that meant. And if you don't know what HOT stands for, it stands for healing over time. So my heals are not burst heals, which is where you get a big dump of hit points right off the bat. My heals give you probably a bit of the, depending on which one, Wardens are better for this than Furies, but it'll give you a regular interval of healing over a certain length of time. And one of the biggest reasons hot healers are so effective is because their hots are stackable, which means that I've got my regrowth, which right now heals for 67 to 82 per tick, and then I've got my Untamed Regeneration, which heals, the Autumn's Kiss, which heals over time for 56 to 68. Now, those numbers are low because I've been leveling so fast I haven't bothered to like upgrade them, so those numbers are low. But essentially what I'm trying to point across is that I have burst heals like Nature's Salve, but I also have these heal over times that give me time to cast burst heals in a situation where someone is dying, which can be a fault of a lot of the burst healers, a big drawback. So, or my hots will give other healers who have more of what I call the oh shit heals, emergency large burst heals. It gives them time to cast those so that between all the healers in the group, you're not immediately taking a fist to the face. But the Fury, more than the Warden, has a good mix of both burst healing and the hot healing. The problem, though, is that Furies their healing spells tend to eat up a lot of mana. And especially if you're constantly reapplying your heal over time, you tend to, and especially if you're in a really intense fight where mana is being drained like crazy, it can wear out your mana really quick, and then you're kind of like, sorry guys, can't really help you now. And they have one big, like, the mama oh shit heal called Sylvan Touch, which is a big burst heal plus heal over time. But they only get one of those. And I think, what is its downtime? It's like 14 seconds, which if you've raided at all, you know that 14 seconds is a very long time. Theron, a battle-hardened Coldane, does not know what to make of the large ice and vellum elemental found residing within the Velenoid catacombs. He was shaken a little by the loss of his friend, and he has sent you to speak with Torley Blackbow. I'm hoping Torley Blackbow is up on the thingy thing. Oh, Torley Blackbow is in New House, which is fine because we need to go back up there anyway. And I have a quick way of getting there. It's called Call to Home because I made my house here in New House. So we'll just do that instead of trying to run all the way back. And I will show you my house, but not right this second. We'll get these quest parts done. Now what'll really cheese me off is if I go all the way out and turn in this quest to this guy, and then he's like, oh, well, we want you to go all the way back. And I'd be like, say what? Hopefully I went to the right place. I don't think I did. Oh, nope, did. Okay. On my original girl, my original Morgan, I had this cloak that had a float ability. So I would just jump off the edge of these platforms and float down to the docks. So I'd be like, I don't want to have to like run all the way back and forth on this switchback. But the problem is that if you jump off the top without the floaty, then you will die. So there's that. Wait, what the heck? Oh, I did go the wrong way. Well, Fudgerella. It says they're right there. What the business? Okay. I think I know what they're trying. I think I know where I'm supposed to be, but I'm just like, why wouldn't they have fixed that? And I don't think I've ever seen this, so we're gonna go over here for a second. Am I gonna die if I go over here? No, it's just a waterfall. Alright, let's try this again. And I was positive I remembered that where I need to be should have been accessible through the city, but I didn't see any place where I could have gone. And now we get to run all the way. What would really suck is if I can't find what I'm looking for, which should be another access out towards where I need to be, and that means I have to run all the way around. Oh, nope, here it is. Just kidding. I knew that there was an access to this. I'm like, what the? This is not correct. Alright. Glacier Beans Vault. He said the Glacier Beans Vault in New Hallis. So we'll see if we can find it. definitely over here somewhere. Oops. Oh, here we go. Glacier Bane's Vault. Deliver Urla's satchel to Torley Blackbow. Okay. Why does that guy look so weird? Oh, because he's a Coldane. Like... Oops, he just knocked me out of the way. That's awesome. Get out of here. Get off of my lawn. They're gonna make me go back and kill this dude. Coldane Ranger Station, blah blah blah. Gurla Meltwater, a Coldane Spellweaver, knew of the creature and has provided a potion that will help you. Well, I don't need that stupid potion, so... because we already killed it. But... I guess we're gonna go visit them anyway, again. Nope, shinies, woo! Pick those suckers up. There's 3 of them in the same, well, 3 of them in the same area is not necessarily strange, but it is nice when you find it. Oh, here's a 4th. Alright, let's go back. Looks like I'm about 2/3 the way through 23. Good, all these pathfinders mostly are going to be not. Well, actually, some of them will probably still be green. Excuse me, coming through. By the time I finish this part of the quest, I should... Nope, it's not usable for another 20 minutes. Great. Why is this guy always green? He gets in my way. before we do this is what I mean by getting body parts that you can examine and study. These are for golems. So it looks like right now all I have left is to get an animating force from the golems. And then I can use my special master strike on it. And it will come in handy later because there's quite a few dungeons elsewhere that have golems in them. And if you happen to have any questions about my particular rotation, not that I'm any sort of expert at all, feel free to ask and I will tell you, because it's fairly effective for soloing, especially if you're not a nerd and wait until your freaking snares are practically ineffectual because your subjugation is so low. Like that. Ridiculous, I tell you. And just keep beating on me. I've got thorns. You're just killing yourself every time you do. So, not only am I a writer, but I am also a huge reader. Of course, I think if you're gonna write, you sure as better be a reader. Because even if what you're reading is garbage, you still learn something about the craft of writing. Don't pay attention to me, don't pay attention to me. Okay, good. Whether for good or for bad, to be honest. I mean, some of the crap, it's kind of like one of those things where until you see it, you don't know not to do it. Or what is that one phrase where it says, if you're not going to be a good example, you'll just have to be a horrible... If you're not going to be a good example, then you're going to have to serve as a horrible warning. And that's what it's like reading books. Now, I have my favorites in fantasy, and one of my favorites now, and I'm totally late to this game, so please don't chew my ear off. My really good friend has loved her for years, but I'm more into fantasy and romance, and she writes mostly YA historical, which is not a bad thing, but it just wasn't my speed for a lot of years. And then there was a lot of years where I was raising babies, and raising babies can really, what's the word I'm looking for? It can cramp your style as far as having time to read. So I didn't read for a lot of years. nor did I write either, but I'm just saying, like, anyway. So I just discovered an author named Robin McKinley, and I had known about her because of her Sherwood books. I am completely jealous of her handle on the English language in regards to like the old English type speak, the phrasing, the way people said things, the syntax that they used in speaking, and that certain words that we would consider highfalutin right now was normal part of speech back in the day. And her handle on writing that type of wordage, if you've ever read Jane Austen, then you're probably semi-familiar with what I'm talking about. Where it's not exactly how we speak today, and they had their own versions of slang and, you know, comparative, what's the word I'm looking for? Comparative phrases. But anyway, so reading her Outlaws of Sherwood was a joy to read. If you haven't had a chance to read it and you really like the story of Robin Hood, and this is actually, I would say, ages 12, 13 plus, maybe an older acting 11-year-old, would really enjoy these books as well, as long as they are comfortable with using what's the word I'm looking for? Context to figure out what words mean if they don't know exactly. I was one of those nerdy kids that was reading Shakespeare in junior high. So, you know, that is a really good place to learn contexts. But anyway, so I really enjoyed reading her Sherwood, and then I read Beauty and the Beast, which I want to say, okay, so here's my opinion on this. Her Beauty and the Beast, I won't say wholesale. The story, so, okay, let me rephrase this. I see how Disney's Beauty and the Beast was highly influenced by her book in some of the ways things worked out. Like, some of it follows very strongly the original story, the original fairy tale. Some of it in her books, some of it was not original to the fairy tale, but of her own creation. And what I mean by that, like the whole idea of the servants in the castle being animated into furniture, where the furniture is the servants in the castle, and they can talk because they're enchanted, and yada yada yada. And I just did a stupid thing by not waiting for mana. Hold please. He's under 20%, isn't it? Jeez. Ooh, recovered vampire teeth. I already have 2 charms. What do I need a 3rd one for? Alright. But anyway, back to what I was saying. She wrote a book named Beauty that was a retelling of Beauty and the Beast. that was, I want to say, set. It's hard to tell because she doesn't really ever say, but it seems to me that it was probably set in the late 1700s, thereabouts. Because when she describes the clothing, and kind of like, okay, so by inference, I assume probably late 1700s, because they're not talking about, when she talks about ball gowns and dresses and stuff like that, it is not in that Regency period where, you know, the high-waisted dress that usually, you know, did not flare out very widely. There wasn't a lot of fabric to those dresses back in the day, in the Regency period. But back in the 1700s, where we have kind of like what I call the Mozart period, you know, you have the huge ball gowns with tons of crinoline underneath and, you know, tons of lace and ribbon and bows, and even though she doesn't really get that descriptive, the way she talks about the yards and yards of fabric in these dresses kind of makes me think so. But anyway, but all of that stuff literally screams Walt Disney, except for the fact that Disney's Beauty and the Beast came out in 1992, one or two, and her book was written in 1988. So, yeah, lots of similarities. The only difference is that in the Disney version, Belle's dad's like this kooky inventor, and in the original fairy tale version, he's a merchant that falls on hard times, which is exactly what happens in the book. But I really came to appreciate it. So when I'm a huge nerd for script, and because when I read books, I don't just read them, I devour them. So I will, and that's also another reason why I kind of stopped reading while my kids were small, was because if I got caught up in a book, I wasn't doing anything for at least however long it took me to read that book. Oh, look, so we got the animating force. Woohoo! Now I have the ability to blow away these golems with my Master Smite. Sweet. Because I write a lot of contemporary romance, when I read, I generally don't want to read a lot of contemporary books because, you know, reading should be an escape. And one of my favorite places to be is in Fantastic Worlds, even though I can and do plan on writing fantasy. Right now I'm more concentrated on my okay, you walk that way and I'll go this way and we won't talk to each other. Alright. I do plan on writing, in fact I've actually got 2 fantasy series in the works. First one is a YA fantasy based on World of Warcraft and EverQuest 2 and my brother, except for now he's in his 30s, about a 14-year-old kid that gets sucked into his video game. And yeah, I hear you. It doesn't sound like it's that original, but this is a story being told from the point of view of somebody who has played so many MMOs and can tell you it has all the little nuances of being a gamer and what it would be like to be a gamer in your game, right? And I'm not talking about like Ready Player One, because it's not a virtual thing. He really is there. Why do these guys have more quests for me? I thought I was done. Guess not. Anyway, so that one is in the works, and that one is actually going up on Kindle Vella hopefully next year. Hopefully before then, but as busy as I've been and things, holy crap. Everybody and their brother wants to talk to me. Anyway, so hopefully I'll get that up on Kindle Vella and start releasing chapters before the end of the year. I've already worked through the first 2 chapters right now. I have a ton of it written. It's just I don't like putting things out that at least haven't been summarily edited, so I don't embarrass myself. Alright, what does this guy want me to do? Rygor must be using magically imbued tools to carve their tunnels through the velium and ice that form the land of... Okay, so what do you want me to do about it? Obtain Rygor pickaxes from within the Demon's Delve tunnels. Fabulous. Alright. This little lady says, quick to recruit me to defend the fledgling city of New Hallis by serving the needs of Cragged Spine. Okay. And she wants me to throw some of the ice upon flames within the Demon's Delve tunnels. Okay. See what this dude wants me to do. I literally don't think I've ever completed this quest series, so this should be fun. Oops. This guy wants me, after dealing enough damage to the Rygor tunnelers, use the cadaver's dram on them to finish them off, I'm assuming. Okay, anybody else? Let's go back to the White Lodge first, though. Alright, so that one that I was telling you, it is currently being called the Sword of Orenmere. I'm not sure I want to stick with that name simply because it sounds so freaking trite. Like everybody's the sword of something, and really the sword is not the focus. It's a tool that he needs, but it's not like the only thing that will affect the outcome of his adventures. Let's just put it like that. Because I got sick of that idea that you needed the weapon in order to complete whatever quest you were on. So we're not doing that. I think I'm going to go put some of this stuff down in my house. Alright. Nobody give me any more quests out here. Serious. Or give it to me now before I go down in the tunnels, for heaven's sake. The other fantasy series that I've got planned is decidedly more adult. It is definitely written for women who enjoy not only fantasy but romance. And basically the idea was that I took Ireland and Scotland and smashed them together. Popped Scotland off the top of the English island and popped it over into and made Ireland and Scotland one big island. Sorry to the Welsh, but y'all are strange. I'm just gonna say it. And in a good way, but in a way that, because I'm not Welsh, I have no idea. So, what am I doing? Why am I even coming in here? Oh, that's right, I was going to my... I was going to my house. Okay, and then you guys can see my house. So, Welsh could be included, to be honest, in this particular, because they are all societies of Celts that felt not a part of the main, like, they all, like, to me, Welsh, or Wales, Wales is sort of like England's version of Texas, where they belong to the United States, but they don't really belong to the United States. Kind of they're their own deal. Alright, retrieve. Let's just retrieve all the... I originally had some stuff in a different place, and then I decided to move to Hallis instead. So let's do this. Put this, all of my special weapons up on the wall, unless they just sort of blend in. Okay, we're gonna do... Should I do that, or should I make it go upside down? Make that just a tad bigger. This is also one of my favorite aspects of this game, is the fact that not only can you pretty much place an item anywhere you want in a house, but you can also make it smaller and bigger. Where in Star Wars The Old Republic, things can only go where they go, and whatever size they are, that's all you get. But that's fine-ish. Alright. I need to put up my... I'm gonna put the, this thing right here. That way I can check my stuff. Got a weird candelabra. Let's see. Okay, that's totally crooked. Sometimes you have to, that's the one thing about being able to put things anywhere you want, is you have to make sure you're in the right perspective so that it goes where you want it to go. Let's see if that helped. Yeah, it's good enough. Alright, let's see. Got a rug, so let's see what this sucker looks like. Not bad. Oh, that is nice. This one's going upstairs. Let me make this one a bit bigger too. I need to get a fire for my fireplace. Whoops. I had the coolest setup in my old house where I had an entire like place set up for working with the broker. I guess I should move that board so it's more central. And it had things like a desk and a quill pen and books, and it was just cool. But getting that stuff is expensive, and back then I had lots of money. Let's see. Put some books here. Okay, it's a scimitar, so we will put it next to these guys, because by the time I finish, this entire upper area is going to be covered in weapons. There's not many of them. Let's see what skeletons looks like. Okay, that one's a city uppy book too. Oh, darn it. See what I mean about perspective? It's like you have to be really mindful where you're placing things. That's a Book of Nolish Orders, so we're going to put that guy here because we're going to look industrious. I don't know how a lab flask will make me look industrious, but it's still cool to put there. Let's put our wooden pet cage. Let's see if it'll let us put it here. Oh yes, sweet. I thought I had, maybe it's on my other character, but I thought I had a plushie. Know your Knolls. Alright, sweet. I didn't think I was going to get it like that. Usually I have to work at it. Alright. Ooh, upgrade. I usually don't like running around with maces. I usually like cutlasses better, but it doesn't have to stay that way. Alright, so this is my cute little house. One of my favorite areas is right here where you have this nice look out to the sea, and then sometimes it snows. So you've got snowy bits coming down. And then in the bigger homes, you have a few more rooms available. But this is just the basic one. And then up here is going to be the bedroom area. I'll get a bed, probably place it right about there or something. And then make like a better looking sitting area this right now. But then this is like my wall of knickknacks and books and stuff. Like I've got a couple of those books sitting right there. That one's pretty. In fact, I may move that and put that downstairs for now. But yeah, I get into this crap way too much, and not only that, but I also really get into designing outfits and stuff for appearance gear. Alright, let's go finish this cave now that we've got the basic introduction to my house. Hopefully it doesn't kick me out, because it has a tendency to do that. Okay. One of these days I'll get a bigger house. Just right now, I'm just going for the least expensive while I get money together. What I'd really like to do is be able to earn enough money to buy what they call Chronos, which will allow me to play the game using in-game money, but it is unlikely because I think right now they're going for like 30 plat a piece in game, and I don't think I'll be able to get that much together before then, before the end of my month. I will get there eventually, but this is my first month back, so most likely it's not going to happen next month. Alright, so we need to throw ice on fires, we need to get Rygor pickaxes, and we need to go after the tunnelers. And we have more shinies. Ooh, that's one I don't have. Sweet. If I can get a full set of those 45s, that'll be a nice experience boost. Because when I say 45, they're talking about level 45, so it'd be like me miss almost level 24 completing a level 45 quest. That's pretty awesome. I may even just go to the brokerage and see how much that last one is, but like everything, let's see, where's my collections? It's not important, I'll look at it later. But a lot of times the ones that are rare for a reason, and they tend to be really, really expensive. Looks like the green guys have popped up again, so hopefully we don't run into any of them. Oh, good. Mr. Green Guy's still there. Or Gray Guy. Gray Guy who wouldn't in his right mind attack me. Ugh, that is an hideous, hideous weapon. What? I need my scimitar back. Maybe I'll go buy a new one off the auction house or the brokerage, because I hate ugly weapons. I'm really picky like that in this game, oh my gosh, it's too obsessive proportions in Star Wars The Old Republic. But I just can't stand looking bad. Like right now, I'm super embarrassed. Because her outfit is so much mismatched, but I just haven't taken the time to actually go through and fix it. Oh, I'm totally going the wrong way. Look at me. It's alright, we'll just kill this guy off and then we'll go back. Those guys are gray. That guy's not, that guy's not, that guy's not. Alright. Do we ever go down this other tunnel? I'm not sure we did. Let's go get this guy's attention. We're gonna have to clear out some of these guys anyway because we'd have to find the pickaxes. But it's the other tunnel that has the tunnelers guys that we need for one of the quests. Really? Wow, my crushing sucks just seriously more than my slashing did. Yeah, you think you're bad, but you're not. We just got those other guys. Wow, Treasure Chest City tonight. Hopefully they're upgrades to my spells. Nope. An earring that'll go up on the brokerage, and another earring that'll go up on the brokerage. Let's see, these guys are all green. Alright, so while I'm fighting these guys, let me talk about this other fantasy series that I've got planned that's a bit more adult. Definitely not YA, but I don't write. I'm a clean romance writer, so I write what they call fade to black or closed door romance, which means that, yeah, you might get a makeout scene, and yeah, things are going to get a little steamy as far as like looks and touching and things like that, but once clothes start coming off and, you know, things start to get down to the nitty-gritty, I end the scene and move along. And I don't have any, I'm not casting aspersions on, and when I use this term, I'm actually using a term that they themselves use, so I'm not being offensive when I say that I have nothing against smut writers, because there's a whole slew of people who read smutty romance and they like it smutty. But I've done some ghostwriting work in the past and not necessarily enjoy writing the sex scenes. So I just kind of came to the decision on my own. Plus, kind of my idea is that if I'm writing something, like the themes may be a little bit too adult for her, but at the time I started writing, she was my oldest was 15, and I just decided that if I can't let her read what I'm writing, then I probably won't write it that way. Oh wait, I think, oh, okay. Are these picker-upable? No. Why not is the question. If I'm supposed to be getting pickaxes, why aren't they letting me pick them up? It's so weird. I was supposed to throw some goo on that guy. Dang it. I have to, what, get 20%? Yeah, usually 20%. And I want to emphasize, I am seriously not casting aspersions on romance writers that write steamy romance, because I have my own personal favorites of that type of romance. I don't read it as a general. I did it again. I don't write it as a general rule or read it as a general rule, but I have certain favorites. If you want to know what I'm talking about, kind of think like Danielle Steele, spicy. I don't know how spicy she's gotten in the last few years, but when I was a teen, I was reading her books, and like my absolute favorite of hers was Jules. Anyway, so when I say that this is an adult fantasy, it just means that the people involved are dealing with adult things, not things that teenagers generally worry about. But at the beginning of the novel, the people involved are fairly young. Like, I think my love interest is 21, and the heroine is 18 or 17, almost 18. Oh, hi! I didn't even notice you standing right there. Fabulous. And he's a named. Wonderful. Alright, so all that prefacing out of the way, right now, the name of the first book is Daughter of Witches, and I believe I'm going to end up naming the series, because this is like a fully fleshed out 4-book series that I'm planning on. I think the series is gonna be ending up being called the Crow Queen or the Raven Queen. I haven't decided that yet. But essentially, take everything that you know, what we know about Druids and the Druidic religion, and how Druids were revered, and their purpose in life, like what they were responsible for when it came to Celtic society, and then make their magic real. So, like, instead of, and I mean, for argument's sake, let's pretend that whether we're not going to have the argument about whether they really did have magic or not, or whatever, but we're going to pretend that everything that Celtic people have always believed about what the Druids were capable of doing was actually real. And I actually kind of changed that a bit because in my research on the Druids, you know, you could be an apprentice Druid for like 20 years or more. Like, there was so much to know because everything was done verbally. So you had to memorize everything, and you had to be competent enough in what you were talking about and your knowledge that they were not going to risk that information on some like 18-year-old kid, right? You were pretty much into your 40s by the time you would be considered a full-fledged druid. But since I didn't want to have my characters wait that long, what I did instead was I made the druidic calling more about innate abilities. So prognostication, telepathy, I can't remember all the big words, but the ability to help crops grow, for example, or healing ability, like an innate, almost supernatural healing ability. And because it's my story and whatever, each different type of druid was split up into gender. So if you were a man, you tended to have, don't die yet, you tended to have certain innate abilities. Like, for example, one of the male druidic abilities is Earth Protector, if you want to call it that. Those types of druids were in charge of nurturing the earth, healing soil, crop growth, knowledge of crops, that sort of thing. Oh, well, dead pretty fast. Another one was metalworking. So innately a man would have a feeling for how something would be designed, where to find those particular types of ores to work into things like weapons, plowshare, plows for farming, and that sort of thing. And your job was to make weapons and things like that. On the feminine side of things, women are more adept at healing because the complexity of the human body was, to be honest, a woman's body is a lot more complex than a man's, because we have all the extra equipment to not only give birth to, but incubate babies. That comes with its own entirely separate set of problems and a vastly larger number of problems than men experience. Not to say that men don't experience medical problems, but just the vast majority. They had that problem. Why are these not upable? Must be down a different freaking tunnel or something. Anyway. Women are also prognosticators, so certain of them can see the future. And just a FYI, these are individual talents. Like, if a person is a prognosticator, they could probably heal people with, basic midwifery knowledge, or knowledge of herbs and things like that, but their specialty would not necessarily be healing, for example, say. These guys are all green. Let's go this way. So the Celtic Druidic is real. They have their own country. They're an island separate from the main European-like continent. So they are pretty isolated, which is why a lot of their traditions and things had not been tainted by outside influences, and we're also going to pretend that the Romans don't exist, at least at this point in the development. It's an interesting idea to kind of mix together what the Romans ended up trying to do, or what they ended up doing, with a lot of the other Celtic tribes. And because originally I was going to go for deep medieval period, like triple digit rather than quadruple digit years, but that didn't serve some of the aspects of the novel I wanted to write about, so I had to make it a little closer to like War of the Roses time period. And so in order to do that, though, you had to keep the Romans out of Celtic society entirely, because the Romans were such a huge influence on how Celtic societies developed, particularly the Welsh and the Scottish, and the Irish were able to last out a bit longer than those other two societies, because they were so separate on their little island. Oh, there they are. I'm going to do something else. I could go all night long about the research that I've done for this particular book, because it's amazing that when you are creating your own world, like when you're world building, which is, I think, one of the reasons why I didn't start out writing fantasy versus starting out using more contemporary storylines, is because there is so much to know and so much to research. Because if you're going to start making up your own rules about the way things work, your rules have to ring true at least a little bit. So if I'm going to start telling stories about druids and things, but I want to give it a really heavy Celtic, Irish Celtic, Scots Celtic flavor, then I really need to know my stuff on those societies and how they developed over the eons. Let's see. More pickaxes. Where are you? Other dude's up. I guess I could kill him if I wanted to. So, did a whole bunch of research about 6 months ago on Celtic society, the daily life of Irish Celts, how the Romans, and even how the Romans changed those societies, personally, in my opinion, for the worse, but at the same time, it did expand Celtic, like it brought them into the world a little bit better than they had been. It was probably on fighting Julius Caesar was probably one of the first times ever that Celtic peoples had actually banded together to fight against a singular foe. And so it's been really interesting studying about that and how that worked. Particularly Vercingetorix, who was probably, there was him, and then there was Boudica, who brought together a bunch of the tribes to fight against common foes, and how that happened. Because, you know, you have to understand that each tribe was essentially their own little universe, and there was probably cross irritation, kind of like the Hatfields and McCoys. Nobody knows where it really started. Oh, level 24. Nobody knows how the argument really started, but they just continued it regardless. And that's kind of how Celtic peoples were back before the Romans showed up, was they would interfight with each other, and there were long-standing... Did I already finish? No, I've got one more. There were long-standing feuds between individual tribes. You noticed I can't play and talk at the same time sometimes, especially if they have to concentrate. But then here you've got this foe that's more dangerous and alien than any other person or any other group you've ever come up against. And that's your only option, is to put aside those bitter feuds that you have between tribes to work together to kill off this other so you can go back to killing each other. Can you imagine what the difference would have been if instead of running at your foe with just, you know, the clothes on your back and a shield and maybe a helmet and your sword or spear or whatever it was, and coming at the Romans on their same level, how much different all of that would have turned out. But you've got these Romans who have a deep sense of personal pride in being Roman in the first place, and then they're highly trained. They have weapons and armor that are far superior to whatever it is that the Celts had. The only thing that the Celts had going in their favor was the fact that they scared the living crap out of the Romans. They thought they were like blood, like basically cannibalistic, evil, you know, like the, oh gosh, I can't remember what the battle horn is called. The Celtic battle horn shaped like a boar. That sucker was being blown, or when the bagpipes were being played, they literally scared the crap out of the Roman soldiers. And then imagine not only that, but then you're going up against an enemy who's wearing cloth with shields, and they are painted like devils. Well, if we could have had the armor with all that rest of that stuff, we might have had, Celtic people might have had a fighting chance. But as with any society, set of people who just in the long run can't get along and cannot come together to fight against the common foe, in the long term it was probably inevitable anyway, because all the Romans would have to do is, even if they were just as well equipped, oh, I'm going the wrong way, just as well equipped as the Romans were, all they'd have to do is start pitting the tribes against each other. And that wouldn't cause any snot off of the Romans' noses, because they would kill each other off. Have a mark of wisdom? Slay any Rygort. Are you serious? You're making me go back in there. Ugh. You're lame. I hate your guts. see, this guy wants me to slay more Velenoid smashers. This guy wants me to break off glimmering vellum crystals below. Alright. Going back down. Before we do that, let's see if we get any have gotten any upgrades. Let's see. That is not. That is not. That's a book. That is, though. Belt is not an upgrade. The cloak is not an upgrade. Earring is not. That's definitely not an upgrade. Nope. That is not. That is not. That's my sword. Alright, so far nothing has been an upgrade. And I think before we go back down to that hole again, I'm going to go get a better weapon. Alright, before I got off on my little tangent about Celtic society and what I think would have happened on an alternate timeline where Rome didn't succeed so quickly and easily as it did. Once Julius Caesar figured out what the Celtic people's weak spots were. Now I get to the point of the story. So in this society, one of the things that I've known for a long time is that in Celtic societies, an individual who was either born with epilepsy or they were born with a physical deformity and or a disability of some kind, particularly if they were blind or physically disabled in some way, that they were granted extra blessings by the gods in kind of like, okay, so if we're going to take away your ability to walk, we're going to give you some extra special stuff, basically. And so the idea was that this girl had been, her mother was what in that society, I have a name for it, I just wrote it down and forgot what it was, but the euphemism or the more local term for what her mother was a witch. They're not really witches, they're just, but that's what they're called. It's witches by normal people. They have a different name. And that's a gender neutral term. So it's for both men and women, not necessarily, it's not a warlock for a guy, it's a witch. Let's see. We want one hand slashing. And we don't want it to be any higher than level 24. And we need it to be for Furies. Okay. Usually what I do is I start at the back. That's a weapon. Okay. Oh dear. I find the better weapons at the back and then I look them up on a search so that I'm not overspending money. Black Blade of Executioner. Bamboo Wrapped Katana. That's actually kind of a cool sounding one. Want to see what it looks like? Let's see what it looks like. And it looks like a katana, that's for sure. I don't know how I feel about that, but because while it could work for other classes, a Fury just looks kind of dorky with a katana. See, that's more of a Fury weapon right there, like slice your face off. Shadow Lurker. I don't like the look of that. It looks dorky. I have to say, at these lower levels, they're not that impressive. It's like got the same freaking graphic. Do I really want to run around with an axe for realsies? That just looks dorky. See what I say? It has nothing to do with its stats. It's all about the look. I mean, look at that. It looks like I'm trying to carry around Excalibur or something. Ugh. Well, that one's not terrible. That looks like a Roman Gladius, actually. Except for the Gladius would have had more of a straight blade. Twisted Leatherfoot Saber. That one's meh. That's kind of interesting. And look at her face. She's got the face. Okay, that's interesting. He looks rusty, but oh my gosh, it's a piece of garbage. Except for it's got Gleaming Strike. Why would anyone waste the glowing material? Whatever. Whatever. Ruby Adorned Scimitar. Now that's a cool looking blade right there. Except for I don't think it's... Is that high enough? Ooh. I like those stats. That's kind of nice. Indigo Saber. No. So we're going to remember the Ruby Adorned Scimitar, which is actually not that much money. Longsword of the Lifeless? No. Oh, that's a dual-hander. What? I think we're gonna go for that ruby one. That sounds kind of cool. But I'm just not hip on that shape of that blade. It looks kind of dorky. Swift-bladed short sword. Is that seriously what it looks like? Hold on. Dismal longsword just looks rusty. Alright, let's do this. Ruby. We're gonna buy that one. Buy. Thank you for 7 gold. Now we just have to find it in all my bags. Has almost nearly the same stats as the... It actually has the same stats as the bonker I was carrying, which was really stupid looking, so we're not going to carry that sucker anymore. Alright. Let's head back to the hole in the ground under the ocean. Ding 24, and I kind of have a feeling that if these quests don't get me to 25, it'll get me pretty darn close. See if any more shinies have made their way up, pop up again. Oh, and I forgot to check that other, how much that other shard was. That's alright, we'll remember that later. Shinies precious? Nope, not so lucky this time. Oh well. Hopefully this is the last time down there. Diving, here we go. I'm not so butthurt about 7 gold, but I would be really kind of sort of miffed if somehow that particular weapon ended up being in here somewhere and that I ended up getting it. I hate when that happens. And you're like, oh, let me spend all this money. This looks cool. And then I end up getting it anyway off a drop. Alright, what are we doing again? We need to go over here and get Bellium shards from these guys. So we shall. It's funny how if my sword gets too big, I end up with this little wand looking thing. I'm not seeing any on the ceiling right now. Unless that's in a different cave. Oh, that's in a different cave. No, it should be here. Well, I'm not seeing anything that says pick me off the ceiling. Dude, I can't see you. Get off the wall. That's not very nice. Stop it. Look, I'm halfway. Subjugation, 62 out of 120. What do you bet the crystals are in? Oh, well, there's some. Sweet. I was about to say, watch, the crystals are in the, like, packed like in sardines room. Alright. So, back to this fantasy series that I have developed. I'm not going to tell you too much about it. Some of it because... Let's see, was there any in the hallway? No. Some of it is because it's definitely still in development. Things could change between now and when the books are actually released. Some of it is because I don't really want to give tons away, but one of the first scenes that I wrote, because what I do in my process is I write a bunch of scenes, like a bunch of scenes for the book will come into my head, and I will write them down. Whether or not they end up staying in the book is completely beside the point. It just helps me in my process. But one of the first scenes that I wrote for this book has to do, number one, with the fact that the lead character, girl, is disabled. When the Viking-like tribes of the continent that the world is nearby attacked her family's holdings and killed her parents, she was injured and left for dead, and that paralyzed some of her leg muscles, so she's no longer able to walk. Or the nerve damage doesn't allow her to walk anymore. But her father was the current king of that land's brother. So she's the king's niece. And so when her parents were killed, she went to go live with her aunt and uncle, the main castle place. Although technically chieftains didn't live in castles per se. Their style was more like wood forts that were surrounded by buttresses and things like that. So anyway, this also has to do with that the part of the religious cycle of the year has to do with the equinoxes, obviously, similar to the Druidic religion currently does. And one of the festivals is what I'm calling Bountiful. It's the harvest festival, so it happens in late summer. And it's right around the like after harvest, because obviously you don't want to pull people away from their harvest, because then they'd starve in the winter. But basically what happens is the king and all the major lords in the land open their homes up to everybody, regardless of walk of life, social status. It doesn't matter. They could be super poor, could be super rich. The king and all the major lords are responsible to open up their homes, and they have enormous feasts. These enormous feast days usually last about a week, where they are doing things like eating tons of food, there are dances, there's, religious ceremonies to prepare the earth for the next time for the spring, and putting basically the earth to bed for the winter. And all that stuff. So during these festivals, why do you always do that to me? It is also customary for the young men who are in the higher upper, so like the sons of the lords and things, use these festivals to meet future brides, to make future contracts with different families and things. So it's basically like get to know you party. There's a different festival for weddings that usually happens near the end of spring, beginning of summertime, and that's when they have mass weddings and things like that. But this particular festival is more about meeting new people, and if you are a lordling or like a son of a lord, and you're wearing your family's colors, you are automatically invited to party with the bigwig people. Does that make sense? So like there usually is like people outside, Igor tunnelers. Okay, we need to go out. There's different levels of parties. Your poor people are gonna be outside, and the bards and things performing for them aren't going to be nearly as fancy as the people that are performing for the king and the upper nobility. But if you can show your family's colors, because we're going to start using the tartan, and no, we're not using kilts. It would be amazing, but kilts didn't show up in Celtic society, especially Ireland and Scotland, until like practically the 1700s, 1600s. So that's a little late for my timeline. But they did, where the tartans did exist, and usually they were worn in the form of pants or like a shawl type thing. Like you'll see, I mean, current Scots and Irish will wear these types of garments today, but it was more prevalent back then for the pants to be kind of remind me of hammer pants if you grew up in the 90s, where they have the cinched bottoms, and then usually that pant was tied around or fastened to the waist by, you know, some kind of like belt or cord or something. But anyway, so if you could fly your family's colors, then you could be invited into the bigger feasts. And that's what this one kid who had kind of run away from his family a bit. He was he was like a younger son of a major noble family, and he didn't want to end up getting stuck working for one of his brothers or something like that, so he ended up deciding to go try out being a guard for a while at the palace of the king, and that's where he meets the girl, because he had been on guard duty, and one of the inner portions of the main, I'll just call it a castle, even though that's not what it was, but one of the inner courtyards of the king's residence was where he put his daughters and his niece until they were ready to get married. And he had been watching them as he walked around the upper parts of the, I want to call it the palisades, that's not what it is. Basically, it's walking along the fence, doing his job, and he peeked down there. He saw the girls out enjoying the sunlight and whatever, and he thought that the one girl was particularly cute. Well, what he didn't see was that she couldn't walk, because his boss caught a hold of him and got really angry that he was messing around staring at the girls. Plus, getting caught staring at the king's daughters and niece could get you in really big trouble. King wasn't too hot on that. Especially if you were just a guard. Anyway, so he goes to the dance, and he sees her sitting there, and he goes up and asks her to dance. And she's looking at him like he's bananas, because she's like, "You don't know who I am, do you?" And he's like, "A cute girl." She's like, "Oh, I'm the king's niece." And he's like, "Okay," and that makes it so you can't dance because... She's like, "'Cause I can't walk, ding dong." He's like, "Oh." Now, in a perfect world, he would have been like, "Oh, that doesn't matter, blah, blah, blah." But it makes him pause, obviously, for a minute. But then he's like, alright, well, you still want to dance? And she thinks he's making fun of her. So she kind of tells him where to get off, but he insists and ends up taking her out on the dance floor by picking her up. And, you know, that obviously got him some bonus points in her book. Now, between the drinking and the dancing and having this lovely girl in his arms, he kind of gets ahead of himself a little bit. And at some point during the evening, probably while things are starting to wind down a little bit, he decides to give her a kiss on the lips, which kind of rides that line of propriety, although I'm not going to be as stingy about that as probably true medieval society was, like, because you just didn't touch each other unless you were engaged or whatever. But I mean, you weren't exactly not allowed to kiss, it was just discouraged. And I'm sure people did it all the time, regardless of what people said was allowable and not allowable. But he decides to give her a kiss before she goes to bed, and what he nor she realizes is that she is coming into an age where her abilities are going to start to really peak. And what ends up happening is while they're kissing, and of course this only takes a few seconds, it's not like they're sitting there kissing for 15 minutes or anything, but in her mind, she sees this enormous rush of images in her brain. She sees them talking, like he's leading her while sitting on a horse. She sees him saving her life. She sees him becoming her husband and having his child, and a whole bunch of other stuff that she was not prepared to see. And so because of that, because she was not prepared to see any of it, she screeches and falls backwards into her chair, which creates a huge to-do during the party because nobody knows exactly what's happened. Only thing anyone knows is that the king's niece has suddenly fallen over in a chair and she seems distressed, and it seems that it's this kid's fault. So he's kind of lucky that he didn't end up in jail. Okay. Thank you. It's cute.
It's Jamie.
Yes.
I'm a cat.
My daughter has a cat.
Okay, bye.
Okay, love you, bye. If you send me back into that tunnel, I'm going to... What? I did that already. They're sending me back down there. Oh my gosh. Cragged spine. Let's see. Let me get this other quest before I figure out what I'm supposed to do. Okay. She's saying, search the Velenoid catacombs in hopes of attaining rare series vellum crystals. The other guy wants me to break off glimmering vellum crystals that grow from the cavern ceiling and gather them up. And this dude wants me to listen to Grizz. Who the heck is Grizz? He has convinced you to wear his sentient pelt Grizz within Demon's Delve in search of the old magic item that the grizzly pelt can supposedly sense. Fabulous. Oh, and the two of them are actually repeatable, which I don't want to repeat. So we're just gonna ditch those. Well, I don't know, because then I get, if I do it, then I get a weapons rack, which is kind of cool, but I do have one already. But there's nothing wrong with having two. And I get a round rug with the other. Okay, we're going to do this round one more time and move along. We're not going to repeat them unless they give me other cool stuff. So, we'll see. Please don't die. Okay. Alright. So going back, where I left off was he kisses her. She has a vision that she doesn't understand and know what to do with. Scares the crap out of her. Scares the crap out of him because when she has this vision, she screams and falls over backwards in her chair, which causes everybody else around them to wonder what he did to her to make her scream and fall over. So people are assuming he hurt her in some way, which if you are a person with a disability, you know that your friends and family tend to be a little protective of you, which is cool mostly, but sometimes it can be overprotective, right? So when they hear her scream and hear her topple over, the people around assume that it's this kid that did it, and they snag him and they're going to haul him off to the guard of the castle. But he is a guard of the castle. So, needless to say, he gets in trouble for one, for going and, oh, wait, what are we doing again? Oh, we need to put Grizz on. Okay. Where's Grizz? Grizz! That's not it. Oh, I can upgrade that. Sweet. Oh, no I can't, because that's something totally different. Let's see. Is that Grizz? Yep. Equip. Examine. Okay. I am trusting that Grizz will help me, but he hasn't said anything yet. Alright, back to the story. So he gets nabbed. They're gonna haul him off to the guard. He's trying to explain what he doesn't even understand. She's so upset because she's still kind of, you know, when you've had a shock, like a nightmare or a scare, and you don't necessarily have all your faculties entirely. That's kind of what she's in, so she can't necessarily defend him right off the bat or tell anybody what's going on because she's so upset. Alright, so these the ceilings that I'm... Oops. I'm gonna have to kill those guys again. We're gonna kill this guy first. Now, he does get in trouble because I believe the way I had it written was he was supposed to be on duty, or he had still part of his duty to perform, and he decided to go dancing instead. So he does get in trouble, but not for attacking the princess, which is basically what they call her, because even though she would, in modern terms, would be considered a duchess, I guess. Why are you all trying to attack me? That's just freaking rude. And it's only until like the next morning when the girl has a chance to explain to her uncle that no, what's-his-bum did not attack me, and she kind of has to admit to the fact that she kissed him, which she was not happy about doing because A, you're probably not supposed to be kissing dudes in the first place, especially ones that you've only just met. And two, you're telling this to your uncle, who is pretty much the equivalent of your father. So imagine having to tell your dad, yeah, I kissed him. So she wasn't terribly happy about that. It better be in here, dude. Okay, the pelt is not talking to me like he's supposed to. It's only told me it's cold. It's not fair. But that scene highlights the first major change that she experiences on her way to becoming one of the most powerful women in that particular country. And his journey to becoming one of the most powerful men in that country as well. Not going to say why or how, but suffice to say, they are going to be that country's power couple. But not after lots of tribulation, let's just say. I am listening to Grizz, and he's not talking. And I don't see any other way to go. Because it told me not to go up the vellum tunnels, so... Okay. Alright, so now we're going up. We skipped a step. Had to pick up the little sapling there. Now we're getting someplace. I wonder if it's that big baddie guy. Probably gonna have to wait for him to respawn. Let's kill him just because we can. I'm gonna kill these guys off while we're waiting. If you hadn't noticed the little graphic that's on my stream screen, I myself am disabled, and so well, first of all, there's no need to gatekeep a disabled character for me, because I am one, and I generally try to stay in my lane, if you know what I mean. Is this him?
You should run away.
So I'm not gonna write stories about people that are blind generally, unless I can find somebody that has the experience of doing sensitivity reading for that type of character, or someone with cerebral palsy. I'm sticking to mainly spinal cord injury type people who use wheelchairs, don't have the ability to use their legs, you know, different levels of paralyzation, because that's what I'm familiar with. So those are the characters I'm going to write. Okay, Grizz, you suck really hard, just so you know. Black shard. I don't see no black shard, dude. What are you talking about, Willis? Oh. Alright, now we go back to the Illinois caverns. And one of my first experiments with writing disabled characters in less than ideal circumstances was actually when I did a fan fiction for Anne McCaffrey's Dragon Riders of Pern. I adored Anne. Like, she has been my biggest inspiration in writing. And she was amazing. She was an amazing world builder. She was an amazing writer. She did things that were insanely ahead of her time. And she had to fight tooth, claw, and nail to have herself heard and her stories heard. And not everybody appreciated them because of the way they were ahead of their time. She was very controversial. And she actually still is, and it's funny because the things in her books that weren't controversial back then are controversial now, and things that were controversial back then are definitely not now. Like back in the day, so in Pern specific, I mean, in all of her novels, regardless, all of her characters are extremely strong-willed women. It shows women in positions of power and authority. You didn't see that a lot in not just science fiction, but in fantasy as well. That was kind of not done, if you will. But she didn't care. She was like, I'm going to write what I want to write, and I write well enough that it's going to get noticed, which it did. So when she was writing Pern, and the main character of the story was basically the head woman of the entire planet, that created some shockwaves. But that was just part of it. The implication that gay people had a place in Pernese society that was not considered outside the norm. Okay, I shouldn't say Pernese society in general. Weir society, the place where the dragons lived, had a functional, useful, and welcomed place in society, was completely out of every bound that existed in the 70s, 60s, and 70s. I mean, yeah, we're talking about, the the hippie movement and free love and all that stuff, but really the gay movement didn't move forward very much until the 90s. There were spurts of activity during the 70s and 80s, but gay society as we know it was not really widely accepted until, at bare minimum, the 90s. And even then, we're talking about, like, barely tolerated, if you will. But in her books, being gay wasn't bad. Now, there were people in the books that did think that, and but not in Weir society. They were accepted. Which I thought was amazing. And that actually had a lot to do with... Wow, what in the heck is this belt being dropped like crazy for? Alright, going off on a freaking tangent. I don't even know why I started the tangent, so I apologize if I don't continue it. Other than I love Anne McCaffrey, and she's amazing and ahead of her time, and I really, really hope that I write just as well as she does. I think maybe the reason I was saying that was because, in my mind, disabled people have not had much of a voice in literature, and particularly a voice by people who are disabled, so that people that are disabled can, in a way, understand that there are nuances to being disabled beyond the stereotypical disabled person. And it seems like a lot of times you either get the uber positive Pollyanna type, or you get the dark, depressed, and angry. Which, yes, there are people in those categories, but no, not everybody espouses those particular personality traits. But, like I was saying, I explored this idea of trying to figure out how a person with a disability would function in these more, I don't want to say primitive societies, but societies where people, where certain advantages in medicine and rehabilitative equipment, supportive rehabilitative equipment, didn't exist. Like, for example, wheelchairs. How would a society deal with wheelchairs? And especially if you're on a working farm, or what in Pern society is called a cothold, how would you deal with being disabled and being on a farm? Because even in today's society, there are, even with all the advantages that we have today of modern rehabilitative supports, being on things like farms is a challenge. So the story, and one of the other things that I really disagreed with Anne about in her Pern stories was this notion that disabled people were completely incapable of taking care of a dragon. Would it be harder? Yes. Because in her world, her rules were that anyone with a physical disability or mental disability would not impress a dragon. And I totally disagreed with that. I felt like there were certain physical disabilities that could lend themselves to being able to still take care of a dragon, even though they get to the size of being a 747. But my problem was I've always wanted to impress a dragon. And so if I'm me, how would I take care of a dragon that would essentially become the size of a Cessna or a little bit larger? Because in that world, you have to oil them, they have to bathe. When they're babies, you have to feed them by, cutting up big, large wads of food. When they're born, they're about the size of a Great Dane. So you have to figure out ways of adapting to those challenges, because it's hard enough for a person without a disability to take care of a baby dragon, for example. How would a person with a disability take care of one? And so that I wrote a fan fiction called Free to Fly. Oh, where'd that? Okay, there it is. I wrote a fan fiction called Free to Fly where I explored that particular notion. How would a girl who cannot use her legs take care of a baby dragon? How would that be possible? How could I prove Anne wrong? As much as I loved her, I wanted to prove her wrong. So that's where I started out with that particular story. And it's funny because I got a bunch of gatekeepers who tried to accuse me of whatever, which is funny when you're dealing with fan fiction, which I still adore writing. It's always funny to me the people that want to tell you how wrong you're doing it, even though in modern fan fiction, the modern fan fiction society or world, there is no such thing as wrong. People basically make up whatever they want with whatever rules they want without really a lot of regard to the actual source material. But as I told my readers, this was the only rule I was breaking in the world of Pern. Because honestly, rules make the story a lot more interesting. So when I wrote about Missa, who is my dragon girl, who's the disabled girl, first disabled girl in the entire history of Pern dragons, impressing a dragon, how would people who are used to dealing with able-bodied people, how would they react to that? Like, think about it. Like, do you think honestly that the weir leader, the main head honcho guy of that particular weir, he wouldn't be overly enthused about the idea, because a lot of concessions would have to be made, a lot of adaptations would have to be done, and things that they never thought about to plan for. And then what would they be able to fight Thread? Nobody would know because it'd never been done before. So how would they handle that situation? Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go read Dragonflight and then come back to this video, and then you can understand what I'm talking about. But in my story, I take care of it because in the world of Pern, besides the huge dragons, there's the little cousins of the dragons called fire lizards. And fire lizards, while not as intelligent as their big dragon brethren, they are smart enough to be able to be trained to do certain things. And so, like for example, Missa was able to take care of her dragon for the first little while because her dragon was small enough that she could still handle the bathing and the skin maintenance and all that other stuff. But when her dragon started to get to the size of, you know, a bus, that created a bit of a problem because then she didn't have the ability to get up and over like she needed to. And especially if the dragon needed oiling, you're not going to be able to climb up on your dragon's back when they're slick with oil. Did I get all of them? I sure the hell hope so. Oh my gosh, and I should have done that all the time. No, I don't want to do that. Do I honestly have to mine this stuff? What the hell? Alright, let's give it a few tries, because if nothing else, I can put that crap up on the auction, or the broker or something, but still. Nothing from that. I wonder if I have to go. Let's kill this guy and see what happens. He's probably not a quest giver, but I figure won't hurt killing him. Well, he caught on fire. I don't think that was the intended. Anyway, if you're interested in reading Free to Fly, it's under my writing handle, Whitney Writes Book, and it is on Archive of Our Own. Feel free to read it and see what you think. And then if you liked that particular one, that one I rate for basically mature 10 and up, because really probably the scariest part in that is when a familiar of Mrs. dies. But it's not told in any sort of graphic anything. It's just she witnesses the dragon falling out of the sky, and that was really traumatic for her. But other than that, there's nothing in it that would offend young sensibilities, so you can definitely... Okay, Duder, where are these crystals at? So it's called Free to Fly, Whitney Writes Book, singular. And definitely leave comments, let me know what you think. There's also 2 other books in the series. I call them books because they're literally 60,000 words plus each, so there's plenty of reading to do. But the second and third books in that series, I call it the Southern Weir, Stories of Southern Weir, are definitely not children appropriate because they deal with a lot more mature themes than children are probably ready to read about, i.e. sex. And no, it doesn't get too terribly spicy, but it does talk about sex and the implications of it. And with dragons, there's definitely implications. But if you read Dragonflight, you'll understand what I mean. Alright, let's see if it's in here and we're just missing it somehow. Alright, I may need to look this one up, because that guy just get bigger? What the H and G and whatever? Okay, he couldn't have gotten bigger, at least not on purpose, or as intended, because this dude isn't. It's so weird. They are dropping. It's crazy. Clasher, 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 clasher. I am not seeing the correlation, guys. And I don't see any clickies. I'm gonna have to get into a safe spot and look this one up. See if I can make it across here without attracting too much attention. Yay! That was awesome. Oh man, I did not get away with that. Gosh, it's about time you died. This is definitely not a safe spot, but I think we have enough time before this dude respawns to look it up. Okay, geode caching. Wait. It's gotta be these guys. Because I'm like, there's no reason they would be in here if they didn't drop anything, for one. Oh, I see what happened. He wasn't on fire, he had a thingy. That makes sense. Sort of. Right, so the other two books in the series, in the Stories of Southernware, or the Tales of Southernware, I should say, is Missa in Free to Fly. Missa's about 14, 15, 15-ish, and then I fast forward about 5 years to when she is all grown up, feeling a little lonely, even though she has her friends and her life at the Weir. She, you know, loved to have some companionship. And then she meets a really, really good-looking blacksmith. But that is actually, this book, I was actually considering writing this book in a different way, which it ended up being kind of this odd combo book where it was almost like part one, part two, you know. And I'm not going to say why, but at least the first part of the book is a love story. I mean, it's a love story all the way through. I write romance. I'm not going to be ashamed of that. But I will have to say that the themes of death and love and man-woman interactions and babies and all that stuff definitely is not appropriate for probably any kid over the age of, I would guess, 16 or 17, depending on how strictly or not strictly you parent your child. But definitely adult. Although, like I said, I don't write super spicy. I usually close the door. The only exception to that was one scene where things happen, and although I don't necessarily shut the door on that scene all the way, I'm not going into any specific detail. Come on, yo. They're not all gonna drop it. Dang it. Alright, come on, yo. Just one more. And we are porting this crap out of there. Hopefully we're done. Alright. Okay, Mr. Rumbling. Never mind. We're gonna kill this guy first. Yeah, go away. I'm trying to kill this geode. Okay. So that love story that I was talking about earlier is book 1, book 2 about Missa. Book 3, let's see. Book 3 is actually about a rejected lover of Missa's. It was funny, it was one of those side characters where I meant him to be like the jerk of all jerks. And then he ended up not turning out like that. He ended up, I wouldn't necessarily term him as sweet, but he ended up getting under my skin a lot more than I anticipated. So I couldn't just leave him hanging like he was. Felt kind of bad for him. So he got his own story and his own true love, basically. And that's book 3. Okay, so book 2 is called Forged in Flame. And even though, yes, it is a homage to the fact that Mrs. Mann is a blacksmith, it actually has to do a lot with things that go on in the second half, too. So I dare you to figure it out. And that's on AO3 as well. Oh my gosh. Okay. No. 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 Mm-mm. We're done with you. And that's the exact same thing, so we are not gonna go with him. Oh, Mender guy. I don't think I need it though. Yeah, I haven't died. Let's go turn this duder thing in. the achievement Hero of Hallis. Oh, I think I just got a horsey. Let's see. Where is it? Okay, it looks like a flute. Whoops. This mount can be stabled in your home when not in use. That's hilarious. Okay. Mounts. New Halasian Courser Whistle. That's my ward. That's it. I get a green saddle and a regular horse. Fabulous. I still like my ward better. We'll just switch that out, cause yeah. See, it's just so much cooler than just a boring horse. Like I'll have to show it to you one day, but if I'm going to ride a horse and not a warg, then it's gonna have to be one of the ones that the guards in Keynotes ride. Because that is parade gear if it is nothing else. Alright, I'm going to put my new stuff in my house, and then I think I'm going to end this for tonight. No guarantees, because I have a wedding to go to this weekend, but I would like to do a Star Wars The Old Republic stream sometime this weekend, but that is in case I do not have raid duties on EverQuest 2. And once we do go back to Star Wars The Old Republic, we'll be continuing to work on my knight so I can get my legacy achievement on, I wanted to say on Starforge. When I'm tripping up on my words, knows it's time to go to bed. Of course, I've been doing that all night, so like I said, it really doesn't say anything. Alright, so what do we got here? We got a chair. Kind of an ugly chair, but we'll go put it over here, like pretend like we sit down at our desk. Aww. We take care of our business. What does this look like? Oh, it's open. That's weird. Let's go put it up here with this other book, because he's only. Okay, we've got a weapon rack. So we're going to put that downstairs with the other weapon rack. put it right there, and then that way they can be matchy-matchy. Although that kind of blends in a little bit, but well. Okay, let's see. Is that a book? Nope. There's a rug though. Place. I'm gonna place this round rug right there. That looks okay. Oh, I've got two of them. That's right, because I redid that quest. Oh, that's so hideous. Look at that. Ugly chest piece. Okay, next stream, before we do, when I do EverQuest 2, next stream we are doing a stream on appearance gear, because that is a travesty. That is an even bigger travesty. It's just not right. Alright, kiddos. I think we are going to conclude this little moment right now, and then just be on the lookout for, make sure to press the subscribe button so that you can know when I am streaming next. Thank you all for joining me, and have fun playing.